I'm Kristy Aasheim, a top producing agent in North Dakota, and this show is all about learning from the best. Top producers, brokerage owners, and industry experts who have faced the challenges, put in the work, and climbed to greatness. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills, gain new strategies, or even get inspired by the journeys of top agents, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome, Jon Singleton. He is here with us today from Jacksonville, Florida. I believe it's close to St. John's as well, but I'm going to let him introduce himself, give us a background of who he is and where he's from. So welcome, Jon.
Hey, Kristy, thanks so much for having me. I was a Navy helicopter pilot and was on active duty for about 10 years, went around the world, and had met my wife in flight school, but she was from Jacksonville. And so we lived in the Middle East for a couple of years, and then we were in DC at the Pentagon for a couple of years, or whatever. But had our first child, and the military is not super conducive to family home life. And she really wanted to move back home to Jacksonville. And so we moved back, and I got a real estate license. And all my squadron mates were, "What are you doing?" Because this was 23 years ago, and before Bravo and HGTV and all that. And I'm like, I think this is going to be fun. Yeah, the freedom, right, Kristy? The freedom.
Yeah, the freedom we thought we had. Yep.
The freedom to get text at 10:30 on a Sunday night. Anyway, that was 23 years ago, and I really fell in love with it, and it's great. I've got a psychology background, and I'm a combat vet. And so honestly, that blend somehow, people are freaking out, think it's the end of the world. And sometimes you're just like, look, it's not the end of the world. Get a hold of yourself. We just have to figure out this inspection process.
Yes.
And it's been really good. And so I've been with the same brokerage for the whole time, which I know is really unique, but they've been good to me. And, and I'm still here just trying to figure out like, what's this next season like? And this spring was totally different from last spring. It was totally different from last fall. And I think this summer we're entering into kind of a new dynamic with buyers and sellers this summer, which I think is different from the spring. And I actually love that, managing the chaos. And I'm still here.
The chaos is the best, right? We all thought we were getting into real estate and our life was going to be a little bit easier because we have that perception, right? That perception.
Right.
Is but
sometimes you get really big commission checks. You're like, man, this is great. But the question is, how long do I have to eat off of this? So you gotta plan on. I still haven't figured out the planning yet, but I don't know. Maybe next year.
That's okay. We just roll with it. So first off, I want to talk about a little bit where I guess it's Jacksonville, St. John's, right? Or is it two towns or that's where you service? Tell me a little bit about where it's at, what it is, because it's not where I thought it was.
So Jacksonville, Florida, I think there's 7 different Jacksonvilles in the U.S., but Jacksonville, Florida is northeast. It's that northeast corner of the state. You go down the East Coast, and Miami's down at the bottom. Pensacola is at the end of the Panhandle to the west. But it really, just telling you, is kind of a lot more personality-wise. South Georgia, people are very personable, very nice. We got great food. We've got a lot of seafood because we've got a lot of rivers. So the St. John's River goes all through Jacksonville. And so St. John's is a little tiny. So it's probably St. John's River that you saw. I do a lot of like riverfront stuff, but we've got 3 different main counties. And so St. Johns County, Duval County, and Clay County are the 3 main parts of the population area. Pretty military. We're actually the number one for the Navy, number one requested duty station. People love coming to Jacksonville. They love being here. They love retiring in Jacksonville. So I think we've got the largest percentage of Navy retirees in the country. San Diego's nicer, but you can't afford to live in San Diego. And Jacksonville's cost of living is really pretty good. But it's a neat place. I've been here really off and on since the 90s, but we moved back here in 2001. We've been in our current house, same house since 2001. So it got a little small when the kids were big, but a 22 and 24-year-old, they're launched. They're no longer in the house. And so the house is perfect for my wife and I. So house hacking, I know that's contributing to the inventory crisis that we haven't moved in 24 years. Sorry.
That's just crazy being an agent, because usually the agents move the most, and
you
are still in the same house.
I had moved growing up, and my wife had moved growing up, and so our kids had never known another house. So we gave them something that we didn't, which was that kind of that stability. We had never known that growing up. And so that was the choice there.
Oh, okay. Like that makes sense. So being in Florida, we know
Yeah.
it's exploded since COVID. Everybody moved there.
Right.
How is it affecting your neck of the woods compared to the rest of Florida?
So it's been great. I have spent a lot of time, you talk about funnels and pipelines and stuff. I have spent a lot of time being extremely involved locally. And we've expanded. I've got a 50-50 business partner who I've been working with for 12 years. We have tried to expand that beyond just where people think of me as San Marco, which is a little kind of historic neighborhood.
Mhm.
It's a luxury. It's great. A lot of houses built in the 30s and 40s. And unfortunately, sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd known that you work in Nocatee, which is this super hot, the third hottest community in the country for growth. And my sister-in-law just bought a house there. And we work in Nocatee. It's 30 minutes away, but we have done a lot of work in in 3 different counties. And anyway, but it's exploding everywhere. One of the challenges that I often have is a lot of my houses are like 80 years old, and a lot of people move into Florida want a new house. And so it's a little bit of a challenge. Inspection, man, the inspection process kills us every time. But it's okay. We figured out we've got answers for if there's a willing buyer and a willing seller, we can find a way to make it work.
Homes are not perfect. They are lived in, they deteriorate,
God,
they need work. Ads need to calm down when they come to the younger generation's inspections.
right. Yeah,
I'm sure you had a couple of those happen.
absolutely.
But yeah, what's your worst inspection so far in the area? Do you have one that just stands out?
God, I had this magical ability to, when things are really bad, I just can't remember them anymore. It's a survival instinct. I spent 42 months in combat zones. All right. So it's my survival instinct. Absolutely. If it's going to hurt me, I don't know, my brain just deletes it. We did find a raccoon in the attic, like with the inspector, like popped up out of the hatch. There's a raccoon right there. And they're vicious. That
They're nasty.
was, that was exciting. We got the photo. Anyway, it's probably posted it. The pygmy rattlesnakes are pretty common.
Oh,
And you may have things up in the Badlands. I don't know. There's certain things that we don't have timber rattlers, but we do every once in a while. I've never had someone bit at an inspection, but every once in a while there'll be something like on a preserve lot that's super beautiful. And yeah, you got to watch out for rattlesnakes. That's always exciting. But I don't know, Kristy, I've seen like everything, and I've had solutions for you got crumbling septic tanks, or you got foundational issues, or you have to move a house, we've gone through all of that. It is hard to test for paranormal activity, but you can do it. You call it Ghostbusters, right?
yeah.
I sold a house. I sold a house where the lady died in the hot tub, and in Florida, you don't have to disclose that someone died in the house. Now, probably should, right? Does it affect the material value? It was first time home buyers. They wanted to keep the hot tub. And I'm like, I got to tell them, right? I got to tell them. And because the neighbors are going to after closing, and then you get a lawsuit. And so we told them, and believe it or not, they wanted to keep the hot tub. We were shocked.
Wow. I don't know if this has happened to you, but I've had an agent reach out and say, hey, so my clients are looking for a house that's haunted. That's what they want to buy. So do you have one? I'm like,
Wow.
no, I guess that hasn't been on my list of like questions for sellers. Hey, is your house
Yeah.
haunted?
Not a disclosure item.
Not a disclosure item, not something you think about much. The deaths,
Yeah.
that has happened multiple times. I even owned a house that had a suicide in it, but it was
Right.
oddly enough a relative. We weren't really, and he was a nice guy. So I'm like, well, that's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
he is in there, it's fine.
Be a nice ghost. It's okay.
It should be nice. I guess off topic there, but going into where we're at now with our markets, I know mine has changed. I'm guessing yours has changed substantially. How are we
Right.
navigating buyers? I feel like our markets are depleted all across the nation. Buyers are scared. How are we navigating it in your area?
It's probably the same to a certain extent everywhere. I one of the, and backing up a little bit, I do think that it is so helpful when you have agents that are getting good training, that are trying to figure out. It's a constantly evolving market. The last year and a half has been more dramatic than I've seen in the last 23 years. But it's a constantly evolving market. And when you have agents that are trying to learn how to do things right and how to serve their clients well, I think that's great with the infrastructure and education and all that stuff. I think that we're having more conversations earlier with buyers. And I think that's great. And I don't know why we didn't do that before. Why did we always go, like, for listing, you always go interview, right? You're always interviewing. And I think we learn at some point in our career that even when we think that we're not interviewing, we're interviewing. Because invariably you go in and you're like, oh, I know they're going to sign with me. It doesn't matter. And then it turns out that they actually interviewed two other agents and they didn't pick you because you weren't ready for your A game. And it's a mistake. So you always have to assume that you're interviewing with sellers. We're interviewing with buyers now. And I think in the long run, I think that's going to benefit them. I do think it's created a lot of chaos and confusion on the buyer side. And so I think that we're doing a lot more open houses.
Oh, absolutely. You're seeing a
Because
place.
because you've got so if a buyer has any trust issues, and they all have some level of trust issue, they don't want to sign something. And I don't blame them. And so a lot of them are just waiting for the open house.
Yep.
And so now houses that we wouldn't normally have held open, we need to hold open because there's people that are literally just waiting for the open house. But it also means that the people coming into the open house may be more available if you can break through whatever that barrier is, which is pretty much you lead with don't be a jerk.
Yep.
And if you're helpful and informative and can put them at ease, that's your 90% there.
Oh, absolutely. I had a client the other day. He was a brand new buyer. We met up and I said, I'll explain everything when we get there. First showing is where I go through everything,
Yeah.
lead the process. And I say, hey, we'll go step by step. It's okay. Take a minute. And he goes, I watched so many YouTubes and I learned more in 5 minutes from you than I did on all those YouTubes. I'm like,
Right.
that's what's wrong. We need more communication with agents. And I think a lot of agents aren't trained appropriately in the beginning to be able to do that. And I think that's the number one thing as a seasoned agent. I'm assuming you are training agents if they come into your group, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have to train them appropriately. Are you with your marketing, anything of that nature? Are you guys doing things that are helping buyers?
So we've got buyer guides that KCM kicks out every season, and we
Yeah,
rebrand.
yeah.
Yeah, let's listen. Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. It's okay.
We don't need to
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel. It's always been there. We just got to implement it.
So we do a lot of sharing. I also do a fair amount of just doing Instagram reels, just talking with explaining things that I just did one that got a lot of traction about how to buy a house without an agent. And people are like, why are you posting about how to buy a house without an agent? And I'm like, if you don't want an agent, I'm not going to probably convince you otherwise. Let me tell you all the things that you need to do, which, by the way, include hire an attorney to write the contract. Because if you refuse to be represented and you want to buy my listing, if you refuse representation, I really can't write the contract for you. I can't write that offer. Now, you want to submit it verbally, that's fine. But if you want to write it, I should not write that if I'm not sending you. And if you're going to compensate me somehow, I'm happy to help you. But it outlined 5 different key things. Now, interestingly, realtors do have solutions for each of those 5 things, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly can't remember exactly what it is. But the point being is that I want to communicate with other agents that are struggling. Call me. If you ever want to talk through something, I'm happy to help you explain what do you do with an 80-year-old house. Oh my gosh, it's got cloth wiring. That's the end of the world. And it's not. It's someone's got to spend some money, right? There's some problems, but there's solutions to get around those problems. I don't know what to do about the haunting. Although I'm going to say that I do have some white sage actually, like on the bookshelf, like right here. So I don't know if you do smudging, but I have.
Yeah.
I've done that.
We'll see if that works. I'm sure we can hire somebody for that somewhere.
You can bring a priest, you can bring a shaman, you can, whatever.
We can figure that out. We usually figure everything out. I think what my friends even learned, they call me for everything because they have learned that I have a person, a group, a thing for something to fix everything you possibly can think of because we have to. And a good agent will have that. And I think that's a key thing for new agents coming in and wanting to be successful is knowing that too. Hey, you have to know everything about everything.
You know, you have to know where to find the answer. And I would say you don't have to know everything, but you have to know where to find the answer and or how to find the answer. And that's the main thing. I tell people I don't have all the answers. I can
We can
pretty sure we
figure
can
it.
find out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Know
Yeah.
somebody who knows somebody who's going to help us.
You mentioned the experienced agents. I think one of the interesting things is that to me, the main differentiator is that at some point in your career, usually early in your career, you realize it's not just about the sale, right? And so when you talk to a buyer or you talk to a seller and they're confused and you're like, you just said, let's take a minute and understand this, you're coming at that from the approach, like most experienced agents, like, listen, I'm going to help teach you something. And if you want to use me, that's great. If we click, if we connect, that's wonderful. That's how I make a living. That's how I feed my family. But if we don't connect, at least you're going to walk away from this kind of understanding the process better. And I think that's really hard as a brand new agent because you're focused on the sale. You're like, I got to get them. I got to get them to sign. I got to get whatever. And later you realize that, you know what? Let me teach you something first. And then you're going to want to sign. And it's such a more valuable, much stronger relationship if you do that. And
Oh,
your business is better.
oh, hands down. It's when I meet a client, it has nothing to do with making a sale that day or of any kind. It's about getting to know them, first of all, seeing what we are even looking for, because a lot of times new buyers, they're all over the place, right? They're not
Right.
completely set until we start talking and we discuss parts of the town, where you want to be, what do you
Right.
want to do with your house, what makes you happy. And then it's the next time, and then they realize and they've learned so much new stuff, and they're like, okay, now we're rolling here, we're getting it. And they realize I'm not there just to push them to buy a home. We never should be, because if it's a bad
Mhm.
home, they shouldn't be buying it. And you should be saying,
Right.
hey, this is not going to work for you. Do not buy this. It's okay to say no to them. No, this is not a good idea, you guys. And I think
Right.
that's where your best advice comes in, right? Is just by being a human and looking out for their
Right.
best interest and not yours. Which again brings us to the commission thing. Everything changed. It is
Yeah.
scary for people. I know you're saying all the open houses. How are you addressing the ones that are willing to sign? Do you find that they're scared, nervous about it, or are you just doing one-time showing forms? How are you navigating that?
For most, a lot of my business comes from past clients and or people that are referrals from past clients. And that's a much warmer lead, right, than someone you just come across randomly. If it's someone brand new, we'll do a trial period, basically. Either one-time showing or a short duration exclusive agency agreement. And I think that you had said something. Well, the main thing is for everyone to be comfortable. You'd mentioned meeting with people for the first time and not making a sale that day. What we're actually doing is we're interviewing them as clients also, right? So they're interviewing us, but at the same time, we want to make sure that they're somebody that we want to bring on as a new client. And we want to make sure that honestly, we want to make sure that their expectations are possible to be met, right? But also we want to make sure that we've got the right resources to do a good job for them. And sometimes people want to look in this other area that maybe you're not that familiar with, or that really just doesn't, whatever it is, something just does not, they only want to work evenings and weekends, you got a baby at home, and whatever. It may not be the right fit. And so do you refer it out? What do you do? But you're figuring that out in your that first meeting or two. And we may do short-term agreements with the folks that I've worked with before, whatever. We just right off the bat normally do 3 months. And I've got an agreement for buyers. Now the same thing I've always had for sellers. Basically, a satisfaction guarantee. It used to be like Ninja Selling or other folks will talk about cancellation. We do a very easy cancellation. If you text me and say, I don't want you to be my listing agent anymore, done. We drop it. We take it off. There's no fee, there's no penalty. Now, that said, the business model, every listing that we put on the market, and we get marketing traction whether we sell that or not. We make sure through cross pollination, all sorts of other things, that there's a steady stream of stuff. But if someone wants to stop doing business with them, we don't want to be in business with them still. And so when we tell people that, listen, yeah, you're signing this, but if you want to cancel it immediately or tomorrow or whenever, it's done. We're not still working together.
Yeah. No, and I think that's what sets apart a really good agent from one that's just downright down to the book. I do the same thing. And I tell them upfront, it's okay. If something happens in those 6 months and you need to take it off or we need to divert or we need to do anything, it's fine. I want to be easy to work with. If I'm not easy to work with, I'm not going to keep getting my referrals.
Right. And if somebody is really going to be venomous, you don't want to be dealing with that. It's a drain on your energy. So why would you? And I've seen agents who refuse to let people out of their contracts. And there's this anger. And why? Listen, the world's complicated enough. I don't need artificial reasons for people to be angry with me. Right.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to be accosted in Starbucks or whatever. Right. I want to be able to live my life and not have all these angry people out there. Look, if you're going to be angry, 3.5 years in war zones. I used to fight for a living. I don't want to do that. I want to help people, right? Let's all take a breath.
We're back to fighting in the universe right now.
It's over. It's over. I don't know if you heard.
No, I hope so. I hope it's all over. I know you guys in Florida are going to be right there in the mix of all the nonsense going on in our world right now, but hopefully it stays good because I would love to keep visiting Florida once a year.
Yeah. Honestly, I spent 11 years in the reserves after I left active duty. So I ended up doing 21 years. I had a crazy path. It was not typical, but I spent time in 4 different conflicts. And the last one was I got called up when the kids were little and went to Afghanistan for a year. And for me, one of the things that I really appreciate about what I do now is just on a daily basis is I in Afghanistan, I felt like I was a pawn and I didn't understand the rules of the game because the game actually was not to end war. The game is that war is extremely profitable and there's always a war somewhere. And I think we have made an incredible amount of money off of Ukraine and in this whole thing in Iran. One of the outcoming things about it is that we had a chance to showcase. This is like Raytheon's marketing team or whoever made these 30,000-pound bunker busters. We were able to show them in action. So if anyone in the world wants to buy them, in real estate, I'm not a pawn, and I understand the rules of the game, and I think I play it pretty well. I'm not the grandmaster, but it works really well for me. And I don't know, I don't have to deal with all the politics. So
that's good.
Anyway.
No, that's an awesome
different viewpoint. You may not have heard that much, but
hey, I like it. I think it's perfect. So I am way up north and we're secluded in our own little bubble up here. So our lives are completely different. We're very secluded from a lot of things that a lot of other states have to deal with. We just have to deal with the ever changing oil prices. That's what affects our market. But at the same time, I have currently 70 homes on the market, and each lender has about 150 approvals. So we don't have enough houses or places to live. Yeah.
150 approvals. See,
And that's just one lender. That's just one.
Yeah.
So they all
Let's find some houses for these people.
bring me some builders. That's what we need. Because we're so far north, a lot of people don't like our weather. We're not beautiful like yours. Our summers are, but winter is not. Yeah, so I need builders, I need investors, I need developers. So you send them my way. We can make a great partnership.
Perfect. Yeah.
We can do amazing things in this area. We have people from all over the country that come in to invest or look to invest. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, nice. That's great.
Yeah. So on that note, what about your guys's for investment purposes? I love commercial realm. That's where I shine and do most of my work in.
Right.
What do you guys see in there? Is a lot of people coming in to invest in your area of Florida?
So Jacksonville's interesting in that it's a transportation hub. We've got a couple major railways that go basically right through the city. We've got the St. Johns River is a significant waterway for barges and stuff. And we've got I-10, I-75, I-95, all 75 is a little bit to the west of us, but they all basically intersect right in Jacksonville. And we've got an international airport that we weren't sure why it was called international for a long time. We thought maybe because it went to Miami, and that's close enough. But we do have a major airport that's also a customs port of entry. And so in Puerto Rico is close. We've got a huge port, and our port has often had the most car throughput on the East Coast, more than New York. Kind of competes with LA for car throughput. And so our speculative warehouse space has been incredible. I think we've got it's at least 13 Amazon distribution centers. Most things we can order on Amazon. We get a lot of same day deliveries, which is crazy to me. But we've had a lot of speculative warehouse space. We've also become a food like a testing ground, and so we're like a foodie mecca. Although there was a report that was talking about Jacksonville being boring, we actually have some great restaurants and experimental stuff with a lot of different cuisines. We have taken in refugees for like 70 years in Jacksonville also. So like in the 60s and 70s, like a lot of Palestinians and Syrians and Lebanese came. And so we've got the second largest Arab population, mostly Christian Arabs, which is interesting, but second largest in the US. Detroit has the largest. But also during the former Yugoslavian kind of implosion, a lot of Albanians, Bosnians, and Croatians came. And now, more recently, we've had folks from Afghanistan. We've got a lot of folks from Ukraine and Russia, and they're friends here, which is cool. Not as much from sub-Saharan Africa, but all that has blended in, and it's a really interesting mix. A lot of Filipino, and that was Navy because there's a lot of Filipinos got in the Navy and got U.S. citizenship, 50s, 60s, 70s, and so anyway, there's a large Filipino population that retired here. It's an interesting, but you wouldn't necessarily know that, right, until someone points it out. But it's a neat place. But so more recently, it'd be nice if the Jaguars would win some games, actually. But we've had a lot of business that's been coming in, and University of Florida just announced they're developing a campus downtown. We've actually got three kind of satellite campuses that are now being developed downtown. Downtown's been forgotten for decades. And we really see, I've been looking at it under a microscope for 2.5 decades, but the growth that I see now is pretty explosive. And I'm really excited about it.
That's pretty cool. So I guess that brings up, so if there's a new agent, say that comes
Yeah.
in the market, or even if you were the one, you didn't know anything, you hadn't been an agent for 20 years, how would you start? How would you do it now?
I moved to North Dakota. And yeah, people are like, why not Minot?
That's
Well, because no, so there's Air Force Base in Minot. So the joke is that South Dakota actually, Minot?
no, Minot's just an hour and a half away from me.
Okay, gotcha.
Right there.
So the joke in the military is why not Minot? Because it's freezing is the reason. Maybe you hadn't heard that. No, so if I move into a new place, I really want to know in practice, like not the stuff from the real estate book. I want to know in practice, like what conversations are people having and why. I would really want to, what I would tell someone to do, but what I would want to do myself, I'd want to read like ninja selling. I'd want to read like some of the books that like Gary Keller has a couple great books. Shift is great. I hadn't read it in years though. I never read The One Way. Tom Ferry. There's some great kind of philosophical, like how do you get your head in the game and what's your goal? And they can help you understand that you're not there to sell houses. You're there to educate and develop a connection. And if you're there to develop a connection, how do you connect? I've never been a BNI guy. I know a lot of people love BNI. I'm more a Chamber of Commerce, maybe Rotary Club, or I don't know, garden club or skateboard park or something, right? Go somewhere where there's people. Find your people. Kristy, go find your people. Don't try to find like someone else's people. Go try to find people that you can relate to and get to know them and get excited about something and also get excited about real estate, and then they will use you for real estate. I don't know.
Yep, it organically happens. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes time.
But don't fake it.
Yeah, I remember my first goal. I'm like, oh, I'm going to sell 5 million this year. And I thought that was the biggest stretch of my life. I did it, but like I thought it was so bad. And then it just kept going up and up and up. And I just didn't even know it was possible
Yeah.
when you first start, because you have no idea. You have no clue.
Did you figure out how many phone calls to make to get 5 million?
No, it literally was I just was me. I was just talking to people, making connections.
Right.
At that time, I originally started in the oil field. So I was a landman in the oil field, which is very much real estate. I was leasing oil wells and oil roads and pipelines and all that. So I was already doing my real estate connections long before I got my real estate license. It was just in a different way. I was doing the exact same thing, but I was leasing it instead of purchasing.
Right.
So yeah, it was just completely different. And now I feel like even from when I started, we weren't doing videos and people weren't even doing professional photography. Like it was just literally take some photos, throw it online. It was crazy. And now you have not doing professional photos. What are you doing? And you're doing videos and you're doing this and you're doing that. There's so many things an agent has to do now to keep up, compete, and social media.
And that's big difference pre-pandemic and post-pandemic.
Yep.
Because we realized during the pandemic that you had to be online because people couldn't get out. And I think that's really when we really had to up our game with, oh my gosh, how am I going to do an open house? No one's coming to an open house. So we're going to do virtual open houses. So we all hopefully we're getting better on video. So
Yes.
I've shot a lot now. Hopefully they're getting better. I don't know.
But it doesn't matter because everybody relates to somebody different. So if you're
Right.
just you, it's fine. If the haters out there hate, whatever, they can stay over there in the corner. So it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. They're paying attention.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell us where people can find you? What are you on social media wise? Make sure we can send some business your way and make sure you get some new clients off of this, even though you are referral based, but I'm sure you could take on some new people.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I do hanging out in San Marcos, so you can stop into favorite. So we got this great new pizza place called Electric Dough, which is really exciting. It's Detroit style pizza with a Roman crust. Very excited. And they make a really good Negroni. But Singleton and Hopkins, we've been the Singleton team for a long time, finally rebranded. There's just two of us. And Susan Hopkins, my longtime business partner, we've rebranded Singleton and Hopkins. Couldn't be John and Susan because we're married, but not to each other. It's just too confusing. And so Singleton and Hopkins, you'll see that whether it's Instagram or Facebook, or it's actually, I think I'm Real Estate John on X, but pretty prolific there. And the real thing is in the marketplace. We spend a lot of time trying to be that resource and have a bunch of the listings. Hopefully we'll see more of those selling this summer because the spring was weird. But it's looking better. It's looking better, Kristy. We're optimistic.
I'm so happy to have you today and definitely gave us some insight on some things. So I appreciate it. And I hope to chat soon again.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for having me, Kristy. This has been awesome.
Thank you. That's it for this episode of the Inner Circle podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and took away some valuable insights to help you along your real estate journey. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop me a comment below with your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have. And if you know someone who would benefit from this conversation, share this episode with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Inner Circle.